Today, we're exploring a question that completely reshapes the power hierarchy of the boys' universe. What if Viltrumites existed in the world of the boys? Part 1. The Arrival of God. Back in 1944, a brilliant but twisted Nazi scientist named Frederick Vogt created Compound Phi, the substance that would forever change the world. And with it, the first superhero ever to walk the earth was born, Soldier Boy. From 1944 all the way to 1984, Soldier Boy remained active. But despite being a hero, he never actually fought in wars. He was just another Vought product, a tool designed for one thing: profit. And yet, Soldier Boy's personality was a ticking time bomb. Narcissistic, out of control, and addicted to drugs, he became a liability. Eventually, Vought allowed the Russians to capture him and spread the story that Soldier Boy had died in a nuclear explosion. But that's not where our story begins. By the 1980s, Vought and their team, the Payback, had quietly controlled media, public perception, and global influence for decades. At the end of the day, they were still a corporation. Their heroes were just products for making money. Then, in 1980, Earth experienced something it had never seen before. An extraterrestrial life form entered orbit. Omni-Man arrived, and for the first time, the world witnessed the arrival of a true god. But like Area 51 secrets, the government and Vought quickly covered it up. They introduced Omni-Man to the public as just another superhero, a new member of the Payback, hiding the truth that he was an alien. By 1983, Vought realized something terrifying. Omni-Man wasn't just any alien. He was more powerful than any supe on Earth. No human weapon, no matter how advanced, could rival him. Vought decided to make him the leader of the Payback. To test his power, they orchestrated a public superhero tournament, broadcast officially, putting Omni-Man against the original leader, Soldier Boy. And the fight? It didn't last long. The supposedly strongest supe on Earth, Soldier Boy, swung his shield at Omni-Man, and Omni-Man shattered it with a single punch. Within 27 seconds, he knocked Soldier Boy out cold, claiming his throne as the new, undisputed leader of the Payback. But Vought wasn't done. In 1984, they sent the Payback on a normal military mission, without Omni-Man. He was told he had a real superhero's job to do: protect America from within, quietly, while the rest of the team handled external threats. Now, according to the boys' timeline, Vought's original plan was to capture Soldier Boy. But this time, it wasn't because he was unstable. It was because Earth now had an alien nobody could kill. Vought captured Soldier Boy and told Omni-Man that the Russians had killed the entire Payback team and that Soldier Boy had perished in a nuclear explosion. Outraged, Omni-Man demanded revenge. He said he could wipe out all of Russia in a single strike, but Vought refused. They had ongoing experiments in Russia, and Soldier Boy was there. Stan Edgar, the head of Vought, explained the stakes. If Omni-Man acted recklessly, the entire world economy could collapse. So they restrained him. Meanwhile, the Payback's remaining members were amateurs at best. Vought had something new in mind. They gave Omni-Man a fresh team, the Seven. At this point, the Seven consisted of Stormfront, Black Noir, Lamplighter, Queen Maeve, and two unknown supes. To the alien Omni-Man, this was a world of power, respect, and resources beyond his imagination. But Omni-Man quickly realized something crucial. This planet didn't need to be conquered. It was already ready to bend the knee. And with that, the stage was set for Part 2, The False God. By 1984, while Soldier Boy was being experimented on in secret and slowly turned into a potential Viltrumite killing weapon, Vought began pursuing something even more dangerous. They tried to create their own Viltrumite, and that's when Vought made its biggest gamble. In 1984, they created Homelander, a child born from Soldier Boy's DNA, and a powerful female supe. He wasn't designed to be a hero. He was designed to be a god killer, a weapon meant to bring down the so-called god who had descended from the sky, Omni-Man. But while Vought was playing god in laboratories, Omni-Man had plans of his own. As a Viltrumite, his duty was to expand his race. So around the early 1990s, Omni-Man attempted something forbidden. He chose Stormfront, the most powerful female supate in the Seven, and tried to create a perfect Viltrumite hybrid. But Stormfront's blood already carried Compound V. When Viltrumite DNA entered her system, the result was catastrophic. The clash between Compound V and Viltrumite genetics triggered aggressive, lethal cancer. Within 9 months, Stormfront was dead. Her death was quietly erased from history. A new, unknown Supi replaced her in the Seven. someone who remained part of the team until 2002. And then, Homelander arrived. Vought introduced him to the world as the new god. In the original Boys timeline, Homelander takes control of the Seven around the year 2000. But in this timeline, his role was very different. His purpose was simple: kill Omni-Man. That's why Homelander was given 2 extra years. In this version of history, he wasn't just experimented on, he was trained. Martial arts, combat discipline, kill techniques. Because Homelander was the only weapon Vought believed could stand against an extraterrestrial being, against a Viltrumite, against Omni-Man. And once again, Vought arranged a public event. A live broadcasted fight for the position of leader of the Seven, held in a radiated, abandoned city. Omni-Man was given clear instructions: do not land killing blows. This was only a title fight. Vought didn't want to lose their new product. Homelander was given the opposite order: go all out. Kill him the moment you get the chance. The fight began instantly. Homelander opened with his heat vision, pouring everything into Omni-Man's chest. When the smoke finally cleared, the audience saw something shocking. Omni-Man's suit, the chest area, had been completely burned away. But Omni-Man himself? Not a scratch. He stared at Homelander and calmly asked, "Is that the best you can do?" Enraged, Homelander flew in close and unleashed a barrage of powerful punches, using everything he had learned. Omni-Man didn't flinch. He simply replied, "That tickled." Then, Omni-Man grabbed Homelander by the head and dragged him straight through multiple buildings in the abandoned city. He slammed him across the ground and finally threw him into an abandoned chemical factory. The explosion was massive. Homelander's suit was nearly torn apart. Before Homelander could recover, Omni-Man grabbed him by his half-ripped cape, dragged him into the sky, and then smashed him back into the city, shaking nearby regions from the impact. It was the same treatment Omni-Man once gave heroes in his own universe. Somehow, Homelander still managed to rise, after nearly 2 minutes, barely standing, tears in his eyes, begging Omni-Man to stop. He wasn't bleeding, but internally, his body was shattered, his face swollen, his organs damaged. And that's when Omni-Man spoke. Vought was right about you. There isn't a single thing on this planet that can make you bleed. But in 1 minute and 34 seconds, I haven't actually hit you. I was just dragging you from one place to another. So, let me ask you something. Do you bleed? Homelander collapsed to his knees, crying. And for once, it made sense. He was only 18 years old, forced by Vought to fight a god from another world. Omni-Man waited, then said, "I didn't get my answer." He stepped forward and calmly punched Homelander in the stomach. Blood spilled from Homelander's mouth as he collapsed unconscious. Omni-Man looked down at him. "So here's my answer. You do bleed." Then Omni-Man turned to Vought's CEO, Stan Edgar, and delivered the final truth. "You tried to introduce a new god to this world. But do you know what makes a god? Gods don't bleed. And your Homelander is nothing but a false god, just a pretender." And with that, we move into part 3, Birth of Trinity. 1 month after his brutal defeat at the hands of Omni-Man, Homelander returns. Against all expectations, he recovers completely and rejoins the Seven as if nothing ever happened. At this point, the Seven consists of Omni-Man, Homelander, Queen Maeve, A-Train, the Deep, Translucent, and Black Noir. But Homelander's failure makes one thing painfully clear to Vought. They cannot defeat Omni-Man from the outside, so they decide to destroy him from the inside. And this is where Vought begins work on their most dangerous project yet, Project Odessa. The year is 2002. At the same time, Omni-Man comes to a realization of his own. This planet isn't as foolish as he initially believed. Humanity will keep trying to create something capable of killing him. So Omni-Man makes a decision. If humans are going to try to destroy Viltrumites, then he needs to answer one question first. Are humans even capable of producing Viltrumite offspring? In 2002, Nolan Grayson meets a human woman named Debbie. She's kind, she's ordinary, and she has no idea who Nolan truly is. They fall in love. In 2006, Nolan marries Debbie, and in 2007, she gives birth to Mark Grayson, the child who would one day be known as Invincible. But while one miracle is being born, another is being engineered in darkness. By 2008, after countless deaths and failed experiments stretching back to 2002, Project Odessa finally succeeds. A single child survives. Her name is Marie Moreau, a living weapon. But that same year, another tragedy unfolds. At a private Vault party in 2008, Homelander assaults Becca Butcher, a married woman, and leaves her for dead. She survives, but becomes pregnant. To protect Homelander's image, Vought erases Becca from the world. She and her unborn child Ryan are hidden away in a secret facility. And with that, 3 children are born into this broken world. Mark Grayson, the son of a god who will choose to be human. Marie, a weapon created to kill gods. Ryan Butcher, the son of a false god, raised in secrecy and lies. 3 children, 3 destinies, and one future that will decide the fate of Earth itself. And with that, we move into part 4, Man with Big Balls. The year is 2008, and this is where one of the most dangerous men in this entire story finally enters the picture. Billy Butcher, a man whose veins don't carry blood, they carry pure testosterone. A man with enough raw nerve to look Homelander in the eye, or even stand in front of 50 full-blooded Viltrumites and still say, "Oi, cunt, you ain't tough like I am." Billy Butcher is a man who fears nothing. And in this crossover, that doesn't change. The moment Butcher learns the truth that Homelander raped his wife, his life gains a single purpose: revenge. From here on, most events unfold similarly to the original The Boys timeline. A-Train kills Robin. Huey sues A-Train. Vought sends Translucent to eliminate Huey. And Huey and Butcher kill him together. Starlight joins the Seven. Huey falls in love with her. But then, Butcher discovers something that changes everything. Becca is alive, and so is her son, Ryan. During that confrontation, Ryan's powers activate for the first time. He's only 11 years old. Black Noir is sent to kill Butcher. Becca steps in to protect him, and dies in the process. Watching his mother die breaks something inside Ryan. And in a burst of uncontrolled power, Ryan kills Black Noir. Then, Homelander arrives. At first, he tries to comfort Ryan, to manipulate him, to turn him. For a short time, Ryan stays with Butcher, but eventually he leaves, choosing Homelander. By the time Ryan turns 12, he is fully under his father's influence. Meanwhile, another child is awakening. At the age of 13, Marie Moreau's powers manifest. By 16, Ryan and Marie are sent to Godalkin University. 1 year later, when Mark Grayson finally discovers his powers, he too enrolls at Godalkin, ending up in the same class as Marie and Ryan. At this point, Vought begins subtly influencing Omni-Man. They suggest that Mark should stay among his own kind, that being surrounded by powered individuals will help him control his abilities better. On another front, Billy Butcher's hatred for Soupies continues to grow. That's when he learns about Temp V, and even more importantly, he learns that Soldier Boy is still alive and might be the one weapon capable of killing Homelander. Because Omni-Man has stayed out of the media spotlight ever since meeting Debbie in 2002, Butcher finds him increasingly difficult to manipulate. So, they choose a different path. They decide to use Soldier Boy instead. The boys track down Temp V. While the goal is to destroy it, Butcher secretly steals some for himself. During this time, A-Train saves the boys multiple times from Rogue Soups, slowly redeeming himself in the process. But just before the boys can rescue Soldier Boy from the Russian facility, Omni-Man reveals his true colors to the world. And that moment changes everything. This is where we enter part 5, the bigger threat.